Hey guys, what's going on? Carnage Candy back with another horror movie review, and today we're reviewing A24's newest movie, the horror comedy that is Y2K.
Death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy.
I got excited to see Y2K when I first saw the trailer, mostly because I was turning into a teenager between 1999 and the early 2000s. The Y2K movement was really kind of is really kind of nostalgic. So I was really intrigued by where this movie was going to go and how nostalgic it was actually going to be for me. This movie is written and directed by Kyle Mooney. He was on Saturday Night Live, and I actually have no experience with his prior work on Saturday Night Live because I've actually never seen any of it. So I didn't know what to expect from that point of it because I don't know his comedic style. I don't know his writing style. I don't know anything about anything he's really done at all. So it was kind of a shot in the dark going in blind with that. And I'm really glad that I did. And I didn't watch stuff beforehand because I had nothing to compare it to, which I really liked. Sometimes I like not being able to compare it to anything that's already out. And I just go in blind and just watch it and enjoy myself. Y2K is a nostalgic comedic horror roller coaster ride directed by Kyle Mooney that begins to follow two high school teens played by Jaden Martell and Julian Dennison in 1999 as they try to be socially accepted, which leads to them attending a New Year's Eve party leading to the year 2000. As the new year begins, we get put into an alternate timeline where the scare of the Y2K phenomena proceeds to make all computing processor machines come to life and try to take over the planet. I'm going to have to get into the things that I really like about this movie because I just want to talk about them. I've just been wanting to talk about them for a couple of days now, and I just need to get it out. So I love the time of this movie, like I've already said. I'm obsessed with the time of this movie. It is so, so great. The rememberies were thrown out there, and they weren't little quips. It didn't feel forced at all. It was just the product of the time period, and they really did an authentic number to the time period. I really liked the humor and the ride that you were put on, but the entire first segment was just me reminiscing on my childhood back then. The good times of my childhood, because this era of time, the time that I could relate to the most, that could get the most emotional connection with me. If you could have seen my face when I was watching the entire first segment of this, I just had a big grin just remembering the times. But it didn't just focus on the times because there was really good authentic character development going on with the Danny character. He seems like he's just kind of like a normal guy, and then as it progresses, he starts getting out of his shell, and he turns out to be a really, really cool character, honestly. And I just loved his character a lot, and he just kind of brings the party with him no matter where he goes. I really enjoyed Lachlan Watson's character as Ash. I really loved her character because we had so many people in our friend group and in our social group that were like her, actually. And I really, really loved the authenticity of her character and all of the other characters that were being portrayed. It just felt real to me. I felt like I was in there hanging out with these guys, and I don't think they could have did that without the character development that we were given in the first segment. And it was truly a really good trip to the past in this beginning segment. Not only did I really like the time period, I loved the soundtrack. The soundtrack plays off the time period really perfectly. And when I say plays off the sound period perfectly, there's a weird thing that happens as time moves on, and we tend to focus on the songs that aged well, that are still good today, that we reminisce on and say, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a good song. I'm going to keep listening to that. But this went into the songs that were big at the time that aren't so noticed and remembered today.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
And I really love that. It really put me into that's probably what put me into the time period just as much as the tropes did, and the character development was the soundtrack that was very, very authentic to the time period. I just loved it so much, and every single minute of it, I just had a big grin on my face, and you could catch me singing along the entire time. Like, of every single song that I just knew and loved. Like, the entire theater was just singing along to some of these songs, and it was a really good experience. Check it out in a theater if you want to have an experience like that, because it was really, really, really fun. I really love the wild ride that you get put on after they feed you all this nostalgic time setting, all this great character development, all this funny moments that are going on. Once when the party starts, you get kind of this Maximum Overdrive, but Y2K ridiculousness feel, but it doesn't feel as cheesy and corny as Maximum Overdrive, because it's obviously self-aware that this is kind of ridiculous. The fact that it's super self-aware makes it a little bit more believable, I think, because it's more natural. Like everybody's dialogue feels natural. The Y2K scare was a real thing.
It is vital that we approach the year 2000 with a well-planned strategy of practical preparations. To put it simply, pain is inevitable, but misery is optional.
Well, how long will it last?
Well, that's part of the problem. No one really knows for sure exactly how long or how bad it will be. It could last for several months or up to a year. At least that's what some of the experts say. I just want to make sure that we're as prepared as we can be for whatever comes.
And this is just kind of a alternate timeline of, yo, what if this shit went ham, actually? I just love that premise. I'm really upset that I didn't get to make this movie, because I really, really love the premise of this movie, because it takes ridiculousness and a little bit of horror subject matter and makes it a ridiculously amazing, fun movie that I really can't wait to see again, actually. What I also really liked was the ending part where they had to destroy the robot, so they decide to take a little early, like the 90s approach to the Hacker movie with Matthew Lillard, and I really, really enjoyed that because I love that movie, but they did it with their own way. And the fact that they had to hack into this early cyberspace in order to defeat robot kind, I really, really, really like that, because it's a cliche, but it's obvious that it is a cliche, and the way they execute it is really good, and it's like timed really well, and all the things that are going on while this girl is hacking into their system. I really loved how they ended the movie and destroyed all these computers that are trying to take over the planet. They couldn't have topped it better off with that Matthew Lillard hackers 90s feel to it. And I really liked the corniness of the digitalness, and it was really awesome. There are some things that I did dislike about this movie as well. So the main thing that I disliked about this movie is, once after the amazing first segment happens, you start following the remaining survivors of this crew. The problem I had with that is that they killed off the best characters in the crew. Some of the best characters in the crew, they killed off Danny, played by Julian Dennison. His character was phenomenal, and they just kill him, and you don't see him ever again, which was kind of disappointing. There are some really good characters that you follow along the way, but they're not the leading roles. The leading roles were kind of flat. The girl and the guy that you follow, Rachel Zegler and Jaden Martell's characters are kind of flat. Their acting was great. Their acting was fine, but their character development wasn't really there. The character development kind of focused on Eduardo Franco's character as Farkas and Danny. So to kill them off and then follow the kind of flat characters that are becoming the protagonists in this movie kind of drew me back a little bit and got me less excited as we went on. But then it came with some really cool stuff, and some of that cool stuff being Fred Durst comes into the movie, guys. Like, spoiler alert, but we see Fred Durst playing 1999 Fred Durst, and he did a really, really good job but I don't think it's 100% authentic to the 1999 Fred Durst, because one, he probably wouldn't have done this movie. Two, it was kind of like corny and a little too satirical for me, but kind of like Bill Murray in Zombieland, but I still really, really liked it because Fred Durst playing the Bill Murray of our time just felt really freaking funny to me. And I liked it every step of the way through, leading up to them just collectively singing Faith. So I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed this movie. It wasn't my favorite film of the year, but it's probably the most fun I had in a theater in a long time. It's probably the most nostalgic thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. It put me right back in that time period, and I didn't even watch like an old home movie or anything. So it was kind of wild that they really put me back into that time with all the stuff, all the building up to the time and the setting that they really gave us. So I really, really, really want you to go see this in theaters. Go see this in theaters and judge it for yourself. But I am going to have to give this movie a solid B. It wasn't anything spectacular. We got something fun. We got a nice ride. The entire time I'm just smiling until the credits are rolling. And as the credits are rolling, I am still smiling and having a good time. And I can't wait to see it again. And I can't wait to see you guys. And I can't wait for you guys to go see it. If you already saw it, tell me what you think in the comments. If you didn't like it, or maybe you didn't like it because the nostalgia factor didn't fit you, then that's probably fine. I don't know how this would affect someone that doesn't have nostalgia for the time, but I assume that it would probably still be good because the entire time is a fun roller coaster ride that is really good to take, I think, regardless of the timeline. But the timeline really makes sense, and it really did it for me. I really hope you guys see this in the theater. Give me a like and subscribe. I actually had the best month I ever had last year, so keep the momentum going and give me a like and a subscribe, please, to really help out the channel. I really want to come back and review all these videos for you guys and eventually build this channel to even more kinds of content, and I'm really going to be able to do that with more of a following. So please help me out, help me get to the top, and subscribe and like this video. Tell me how you thought about it in the comments. Take it easy.